Good morning. It is Wednesday, July the 14th. I'm Shane Seeley, and this is the CBC Morning Report. We start as we continue to look at the NUPW saga, and we are hearing this morning that the suspended President, Akani McDowell, and the National Union of Public Workers are heading to court. The NUPW was given an ultimatum to overturn the suspension, publish notice of it being lifted, and postpone the upcoming elections to give McDowell at least 2 weeks to canvass for the presidency. The union has refused, so the matter is now heading to the courts. Well-placed sources indicate that the court injunction takes place today in the High Court via Zoom. Meanwhile, McDowell has broken his silence since he was suspended on June 23rd to thank those who have been supporting him. McDowell says he's truly humbled by the support from the members, and for him, it has always been about the membership and ensuring the members receive good representation. There is currently a petition bidding for the embattled president to be allowed to stand for election, and some 175 people have reportedly signed. The Morning Report understands that the petition to have McDowell eligible for the presidential election garnered heavy support from Gaia Inc., that's the Grantley Adams International Airport Incorporated, MTW, the Ministry of Transport and Works, NCC, the National Conservation Commission, and the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. In more news this morning, we have some reaction from one of the West Coast business owners who was shut down by the COVID-19 monitoring unit over the weekend. He thinks there needs to be some revision of the protocols governing the establishments like his, where closure is a last resort. Dominic Seal, the owner of Red Door, spoke to me on the heels of the initial story released here on the Morning Report, where the head of the COVID-19 monitoring unit, Ronald Chapman, explained the reasons for the decision to close down Red Door and West Bar on Friday night. The reasons given were overcrowding and inappropriate wearing of masks by patrons. Seal says on the night he was actually under the limit of patrons allowed for Red Door, that's the claim, and that the monitoring unit also did a head count. He believes a different approach should have been taken.
Closing should be absolute last resort. It really should be. Like it shouldn't just be on a whim. Close, you know. Like you don't understand the lives that you're hurting. You're destroying lives by doing that, right? And specifically, what I would suggest is that the directive should be updated to include that there should be one warning plus a 15-minute grace period by law in the directive. Every business should have instilled, if they're going to be shut down, it should be absolute last resort. It should be with a written reason, right? They should have a written report with a written reason, and it should be, you should at least get one 15-minute grace period and a warning. So if I'm somebody that works in the COVID unit, I should go to you and say, Shane, numbers are not up to scratch. People don't look like they're separated enough. You have 15 minutes to get this place in order, and if you don't, we're gonna have to give you a written thing saying that it's, you know, you're over capacity or whatever it is, right? But there's a written something that you can go back, that we can go back as business people to the drawing board and work on it.
Mr. Seal pointed out how sudden shutdowns of this nature can potentially do more harm than good in spreading COVID-19.
When we shut down on Friday night, I had many people, and many people took pictures and videos of what happened after that. And what happened after that? Well, you take 70 people and you shove them onto a sidewalk with no mask, no sanitization. They're listening to the music across the road. Nobody's telling them to wear masks. Nobody's telling them to spread out. And they don't want to. They can't stand in the middle of the road because the cars are coming through. So you have a situation where people end up packing out like sardines, and they're breathing on each other, and they're shaking hands, they're hugging, they're talking. And so I actually think that careless closures are actually a bigger risk to Barbados currently and to the health of Barbados than having overpacked places.
Mr. Seal says for him it's all about going back to the drawing board to avoid a similar situation when the curfew is again lifted. With 60 new COVID-19 cases reported in the last 72 hours, we hear that a massive contact tracing effort continues to try to rein in the current spike and reduce the potential significant spread of COVID-19 in the community. Head of the COVID-19 monitoring unit, Ronald Chapman, tells the Morning Report it's a fluid situation.
We hope that we don't see as many cases as we're thinking that we might get, but we know quite well that over the next couple of weeks, a really mammoth effort is taking place to bring us back to where we were a couple of weeks ago. And when I say a mammoth effort, Shane, I mean a significantly mammoth effort. I don't want to say what that effort is because I don't want to preempt the minister if he wants to speak on that, or the chief medical officer. But what I can say, there's a significantly huge effort that is taking place within the Ministry of Health to be able to address those cases, because it would be absolutely irresponsible of us not to.
Mr. Chapman paints a picture of what the Ministry of Health has been dealing with in recent days as an example of why the COVID-19 monitoring unit needs to be tough on enforcement.
For the week alone, let's say in the past week, we would have had some 30-something cases, 40 cases, maybe more, and then you had another 40. The contact tracing for those other ones are still going on. So you have persons who are sitting at a telephone from morning to the evening trying to find contacts, and it's not an easy job. You have the medical officer of health who's out there trying to find those contacts, and then you have persons who are at some point trying to speak to somebody who's gasping for breath to find out who are your contacts and how do we get to those persons before they find themselves in the same position and spreading it. So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to ensure that people are kept safe. And it is hard for us to say to a business owner, close down. But then it is even harder to look and see the amount of work that has to go into this, and the amount of money that has to be spent, and the amount of displacement that it causes the entire country when something like this happens. So it's a balancing act. Life, livelihood, and we have to balance the two.
Right after the break, we will continue to look at the COVID-19 numbers. Over 100 people in isolation. That story comes your way right here on the Morning Report. Three females and 7 males make up the island's 10 newest COVID-19 cases. They were identified from among 1,086 tests conducted by the Best dos Santos Public Health Lab on Monday. 104 people are in isolation. A total of 4,196 confirmed cases of COVID-19 have been recorded here in Barbados since March last year, and 48 people have now died from the virus. 96,283 first doses of the vaccine have been administered under the National COVID-19 Vaccination Program, while 72,672 people, or 26.8% of the population, have received both doses and are fully vaccinated. Over in Trinidad and Tobago, the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, received the first dose of the Chinese-made Sinopharm vaccine yesterday, nearly 4 months after he had tested positive for the coronavirus. Rowley received the jab at the Diego Martin Health Center, accompanied by the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Roshan Parashram. Dr. Rowley, who contracted the virus in April, said these are unusual times. He said COVID-19 is with us and we have to live with it, but he also noted that we are fighting it. The Prime Minister urged citizens of Trinidad and Tobago to ensure that they get vaccinated as soon as possible as health authorities move towards curbing the spread of the virus that has so far killed 941 people there and infected 34,822 others in Trinidad and Tobago. At least 64 people have been killed in a fire likely caused by an oxygen tank explosion in the COVID ward at a hospital in Iraq. Let's take a look.
This was the Al Hussein Hospital in southern Iraq. Now, much of it burnt to the ground. These wards were set up for coronavirus patients. They only opened 3 months ago to help cope with the pandemic. The charred remains of victims are carried out in body bags, but families continue to search the debris for any trace of their loved ones.
The front door was burning and the back door was closed, so people were not able to get out. We managed to take some people out, but they suffer from critical conditions and the rest of them burnt and died.
This was a scene as the fire tore through the hospital. Fire crews tackling the flames.
What happened tonight at the Hussein Hospital is a catastrophe. It's a tragedy that's left me speechless. It's as though Iraq has to suffer anguish and calamities.
Anguish turned into anger, with protesters taking to the streets and setting fire to police vehicles. Iraq's prime minister held an emergency meeting on Tuesday and ordered an investigation. But mourners blame the government for mismanagement and neglect. This is the second time a big fire has caused death and destruction in a hospital in Iraq in recent months, claiming the lives of coronavirus patients. In April, more than 80 people died when an oxygen tank exploded and sparked a blaze at this hospital in Baghdad. Health officials say that could have been the cause of this fire too. But that doesn't help relieve the pain for those family and friends suffering here today.
It's Wednesday, time to hear what's coming up on today's edition of Morning Barbados with Pearson Bowen. Pearson, what do you have for us?
Good morning, Shane. When you join me right here on Morning Barbados, we'll meet today 2 of those distinguished teachers who were recently awarded, and we'll talk to them about that and what it means to them. We'll also today be hearing from the 2 who are vying to be president of the NUPW. What is their platform and how do they intend to turn the image of the NUPW around? And we'll continue our look at key number 6, be unrelentingly determined. Key number 6 in our 12 keys towards a strong finish, life lessons for facing your everyday challenges. And we'll get to know more with Bishop Marlon Husbands. All that and a whole lot more straight ahead on Morning Barbados. It's back to you, Shane.
Thank you so much, Pearson. And after the break, you'll hear how Barbados is building greater and stronger bridges with the People's Republic of China. Barbados' long-standing relationship with China could be the launching point for major progress to be made with key major infrastructural projects like the South Coast sewage system and the National Stadium. The news followed a high-level meeting yesterday between the Prime Minister, Mia Motley, and China's President Xi Jinping. The two leaders, who committed to strengthening the 44-year-old relationship between Barbados and China, met virtually for almost an hour. Aside from the South Coast and the stadium, other discussion topics included COVID-19, concessionary financing, and an invitation for President Xi to visit Barbados. While thanking the Chinese government for the recent gift of 30,000 doses of the Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccine, Prime Minister Motley also registered Barbados' deepest appreciation of China's support since the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis. In this regard, she singled out the provision of pre-equipment and supplies from China to assist Barbados in the ongoing pandemic fight. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Motley also updated the President on projects in Barbados that are benefiting from China's Belt and Road Initiative, including the redevelopment of Sam Norris Castle and the Scotland District Road Rehabilitation Program. She also requested accelerated approval for the South Coast Sewage Treatment Plant loan, given the urgent need to complete that work. In light of the recent spike in COVID-19 cases here in Barbados and the presence of 3 COVID variants on the island, a CBC News team caught up with water sports operator Keon Young, who says while they are happy to be back in business, they too are enforcing the stipulated protocols. Here's what he had to say.
To be fair, especially when the guests come to the shop and stuff, at least majority of them, I should say, wear the mask. And then if they don't have their mask, we make sure we have ours. At least that's the best part we can do from there. We try not to make people uncomfortable, but they also know the risks and what you get if you don't follow the rules. So I think we do a pretty good job as we can do. But we try to keep it as active and try to have as much fun and make everybody feel welcome.
He made the point that safety is indeed of paramount importance.
We have to stay safe first, and I'd rather be safe. So that's why we make sure everybody follow the protocol and stuff like that.
Over in St. Lucia, political parties contesting the July 26 general elections have agreed to a complete ban on all island-wide motorcades. A statement issued by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force noted that Police Commissioner Milton Desir met with representatives of the ruling United Workers' Party, the St. Lucia Labour Party, and the National Green Party, where the issue was discussed. The statement said that the political parties proposed and agreed to a complete ban of all island-wide motorcades with immediate effect, and that they also agreed to single constituency motorcades with no crossing over into other constituencies. In the U.S., the President Joe Biden has launched his strongest counterattack yet against his predecessor Donald Trump's false claims the 2020 election was stolen, as moves by Republicans to limit voting access gain momentum across the U.S. Invoking the U.S. civil rights movement of the 1960s and the historic battle for black liberation that began after slavery, Biden delivered a fiery speech in Philadelphia condemning the drive by Republicans in several U.S. states to enact new restrictions on voting following Trump's defeat.
This is an issue that is personal for U.S. President Joe Biden, and the symbolism is great. The fact that he has come here to the birthplace of American democracy. Right behind me is the building known as Independence Hall. This is where the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence that created the United States, really, as we know it, that's where it was debated and signed into law. And so this is why he has come here, because what he's saying is that all of what the American forefathers stood for, what they believe in, he says is under assault. And in fact, Joe Biden said that when he took the oath as President of the United States to protect the United States from threats foreign and domestic, he perceives this as being one of those threats, that there is an assault taking place in various legislatures around the United States, namely conservative-led ones, that he says are suppressing not just people's right to vote, but particularly disproportionately affecting voters of color. So the president outlining there a number of measures that are in the works in order to try and preserve some of these voting rights. 2 measures in the U.S. Congress that right now have stalled, urging support for that, but also talking about what he is doing as a president. An executive order signed several weeks ago put in place some money and funding in the Department of Justice to see that every one of these states and their laws are challenged by the federal government in order to make sure that federal laws to protect discriminatory voting practices, that those are not being implemented. You heard there that he doubled the size of the Civil Rights Division, and he also added federal funding in order to fight these at the state level, because the system of government in the United States has very strong states' rights, and so that is what is necessary to undo much of this. The other thing that is necessary is if voters do not like these laws that are being implemented, they have to put in place new legislatures. And so he's talking about why that is also important, why people need to be engaged in local politics in order to enact the change that he is talking about. But the U.S. president making a very powerful message there, and he's doing it amidst a lot of pressure. Very quickly, Barbara, he was elected, Joe Biden, because of the support of voters of color who are saying, look at, our voting rights are under assault. What are you doing about it? This is the beginning of what we expect to be a substantial campaign by the White House to try and deliver on that promise.
Crowds clashed with police and ransacked or burned shopping malls in South Africa yesterday, with dozens reported killed as grievances unleashed by the jailing of former President Jacob Zuma boiled over into the worst violence in decades. Protests that followed Zuma's arrest last week have widened into looting and an outpouring of generalized anger over inequality that persists 27 years after the fall of apartheid.
At least 45 people have been killed in days of riots and looting. COVID-19 vaccination campaigns have been suspended in some areas at a time of a devastating outbreak. The foundation of Jacob Zuma says peace and stability is directly linked to him being released from jail. But what began as protests against his arrest have now turned into broader anger against poverty and economic hardship.
We knew when we locked down again, this was bound to happen, because the longer you leave the people hungry, this events would take place. And I don't think it's only about the whole economy and what's happening on there. I think people are genuinely hungry.
The jobs that are being lost at the moment are going to exacerbate the situation, and we don't need this. To see people's shops and businesses being gutted, yes, people are hungry today. But tomorrow, there'll be more unemployment, more pain, more suffering in a nation that is trying to recover and rebuild itself.
Well, much of the violence is happening in 2 main provinces. Gauteng is the most populous province and includes the biggest city, Johannesburg. Earlier, at least 10 people died in a stampede in Soweto. In Alexandra Township and elsewhere along the outskirts of the Johannesburg area, crowds have been looting shopping centres. The violence started last week in KwaZulu-Natal, Jacob Zuma's home province. State and provincial officials say 26 people have died in unrest there, mostly during stampedes.
It certainly is calmer at this point in the day. We saw massive looting earlier in the day and police trying to repel those people from stores behind us. And it is calmer, I think, also because we have military police and soldiers deployed here now. They weren't here earlier in the day. But I also think there possibly isn't anything left in these stores to loot. There has been concern around the slow response of the police, and they really have struggled to manage trying to quell these protests and the looting that's taken place. Earlier in the day, the police minister, Bekkie Cele, spoke to South Africans saying that he believed that the law enforcement agencies here would be able to handle what's been happening. They have intelligence on the ground, and they're confident that police and now soldiers and military police can get a grip on things. But it really hasn't been that case much of the day, and I suppose they may be relying on the presence of soldiers to maintain some level of calm. There has been debate around incitement of violence and who is responsible for that. When Jacob Zuma was arrested, or in the days leading up to that, there were these kind of threats. If he's arrested, if he's jailed, we will take to the streets, we will defend him at all costs. We also heard from his son, Edward Zuma, saying he was prepared to die for his father. Police would not take him away. But we know he was imprisoned on Wednesday night, and by Friday we saw some of these riots begin.
Sporting news now. West Indies women captain Stephanie Taylor has reclaimed the #1 spot among batters as well as the all-rounders in women's ODI cricket following her recent dominant performances against Pakistan. Taylor, with 766 rating points, displaced India's Morali Raj from the top spot among batters. The last time Taylor topped the batting rankings was in November 2014. In addition to gaining 2 places to be the #1 ranked all-rounder, Taylor also moved up from 19th to 16th spot among bowlers. Taylor led the way for the Windies with both bat and ball in the first ODI against Pakistan, in Coolidge picking up 3 for 29 and scoring an unbeaten 105, her 6th century in the format. Meanwhile, Deandra Doughton, who returned to the ODI format after more than 2 years, has re-entered the rankings in 28th place among batters and 47th among all-rounders. Off spinner Anisa Mohammed moved up 2 places to be ranked 26th, while seamer Shamila Connell jumped up 4 places to occupy the 39th place among bowlers. That's sports. Time to look at weather. Temperature right now around the 27-degree Celsius mark. It's partly cloudy on the outside. The relative humidity stands at 85%. The barometric pressure is 1014 millibars this morning, and those winds are coming out of the east at 26 kilometers per hour. You'll see a low tide this afternoon at 13 minutes to 1. The high tide comes our way at 17 minutes after 7 tonight. Those seas are moderate and open water. Swells are between 1.5 and 2 meters right now, but you can expect them to increase. Today in Barbados, we will have some sunny conditions for the most part, with cloudy periods and a few brief isolated light showers. And tonight, a mix of clear skies with cloudy periods will prevail, with a few brief isolated light showers. And this is the picture of the Lesser Antilles today and tonight. It will be fair to partly cloudy with a few brief light isolated showers. The sun is out in London, and that's why they're getting up to 23 degrees Celsius today. In Frankfurt is up to 24, nice and cool on the lower side of things. In Boston, partly cloudy skies there, up to 26 degrees Celsius, and Montreal it's cloudy. New York and Toronto also cloudy for the most part, as New York gets up to 30 degrees Celsius today, a pretty warm day for New Yorkers. And that's it for this edition of the Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. Morning Barbados starts now.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning to you. Welcome to Wednesday the 14th of July, 2021. I'm Pearson Bowen, welcoming those of you on our YouTube channel, Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation, and those of you also watching us on our Facebook streams at CBC Barbados and Morning Barbados. Welcome today. Today, we'll also be meeting a Bajan Afar, a young man who is living overseas, and certainly we want to hear his story, his life's journey thus far. In our Dot Talk, our consultant obstetrician and gynecologist will share with us a little bit more about what is the outpatient hysteroscopy. Interesting, huh? We'll get to know a whole lot more about that as well. Plus, Rising with Resilience, an entrepreneurship webinar will be given today, and we'll meet those who are behind that particular effort. But let's get started this morning with celebrating our teachers. Recently, the RF Merchant Bank and Trust Barbados Limited announced the winners of the 2020 RF National Distinguished Teachers Award. Those winners were selected for their outstanding contributions to education and represent various academic levels from nursery right through to the tertiary institutions. We'll get to meet two of those recipients today, in Angel Birch, who is a teacher with the Eden Lodge Nursery School, and Sonia St. Hill, who is a teacher at the Lodge School. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. So let's talk a little bit about what it, starting with you, Angel, what it must mean to you to know that you have been nominated just to start.
Well, Pearson, I can tell you it is a very humbling experience so far for me to know that there are parents, there are children, there are persons out there who recognize the work that I've been putting in as a teacher. And so I am very pleased and very thankful.
What happened on the day you got the call to be told that you were one of the nominees?
Well, I was very surprised. I was very, very surprised, to be quite honest with you. I could not even believe that, you know, my name had been nominated. I know you're doing good work all the time, but to actually get that call, it is a bit of a surprise. So, you know.
I can imagine, yes. What about you, Miss St. Hill? How was it for you when you two got the call to be told, Miss St. Hill, you're nominated?
I was equally surprised. Yes, I worked with the Students' Council for a good deal, but at the same point in time, knowing the competition out there, because we have some excellent teachers here in Barbados, I was very much surprised.
Well, that surprise has now come through to reality. You've now been awarded the Distinguished Teachers Award. Now, talk to me a little bit about what you do at the Lodge School, Miss St. Hill. What is it that you teach?
Okay. I'm in several areas. I span 2 departments.
I'm sorry if you don't mind, is that your microphone right there by your ear? On the other side, on your left side, just bring the microphone towards your mouth if you don't mind. It's on your headset. While she works that out with our director there in the back scene, Angel, let's start with you. What is it that you do at the Eden Lodge Nursery?
Well, Pearson, what I do at nursery school, it's difficult to say, but what I do, I do whole nursery school curriculum, and basically we teach all these subjects that typically of mathematics, English, integrated science, PE, you name it. There's a bunch of activities that we do at the Eden Lodge Nursery School, and we cover for the children there.
You know, when you think of nursery school children, you're thinking that they're more so into play than necessarily into that kind of structured learning. That must make it very interesting to be able to take what I would call ignorance to reality, to knowledge. That must be interesting.
What I can tell you, Pearson, you're quite correct. The nursery school is grounded very much in play, but there's also structured play and there's unstructured as well. So it's not all play. There's a bit of seat work as well. But as a nursery school teacher, I know that children learn best through doing, through movement, through experiencing what they're doing and making sense of the world. So I try very much to do a lot of that play that you're speaking about.
Mm-hmm. So let's see if we have Miss St. Hill back. Miss St. Hill, let's talk to you again. Can you hear me now, ma'am?
I can hear you, but can you hear me?
Yes, so much better. I am so thankful.
Wonderful.
It seemed as though you were at the back of the class. No, you're at the front of the class.
That's good. That's good. I like to be at the front of the class.
Very good. So tell us what it is that you do, what is it you teach?
Right. I span 2 departments. I am head of the Home Economics Department, and I'm also in the Geography Department where I teach sociology and social studies.
So here it is now. The parents, the teachers, everyone who interacts with you has put forward your name. And, you know, that must absolutely feel so profound to you that through home ec and through the geography section that you're teaching as well, that you've been able to impact so many people.
Yes, I love teaching. I've always loved teaching. I've been doing it for quite a number of years, since 1985. I started at the St. George Secondary, and I'm really passionate about helping students to find their way in life, to develop students. That's really what it's about, you know. You have to love children and want to do the best for them. You want to see them develop and achieve their goals, self-actualize. And that's what I'm about in the teaching profession, doing the best that I can for my students.
And
so
you know,
it extends beyond, just want to say that it extends beyond teaching a curriculum. It is about teaching them life skills, and that is social studies for you, where you get them to recognize what is happening out there in the world and wanting them to reach for the best and achieve their goals.
Absolutely. And now we've been tossed into a completely different world, a different way of teaching now, owing to the pandemic, the recent ash fall and the whole lot. And for that, you too have been commended, because you've grabbed that virtual bull by the horns, as we've been told, and you've wrestled it almost to the ground. Let's talk a little bit about those challenges you've met as a consequence of the new way of teaching. Let's start with you, Angel. How has it been for you?
Well, Pearson, to be honest with you, there are quite a few challenges that come with online teaching. You know, sometimes it's the devices, sometimes it is the learning style of the child. But what I can tell you, the most difficult thing for me, and I know it must be for some of my students, is not being in their presence every single day. Because to be quite honest with you, I get along quite well with the technology, you know. I have already been incorporating it in the classroom. So it's a bit of an ease now, you know. And I also have the support of my colleagues. We work together to a certain extent in order to bring the technology to the students in a way that they can understand. But not being in front of my babies has been the most challenging thing for me. I like to be able to embrace my students, to find out how they're doing, to see the expressions on their faces, to let them know I am here, I am with you, and we're going to make sense and meaning of this world together. So quite different, you know. That has been the biggest challenge for me as a nursery school teacher.
Lord knows I could feel your passion just oozing through the screen for real. What about you, Miss St. Hill, battling the changing times of education? How has it been for you?
I can say the same. You know, it is different. It is new, but again, I too am very good in terms of technology. And I really think that it is important for us in this 21st century to embrace the technology. So therefore, I think that going forward, we really should have it as part of our life in terms of the teaching profession, where you can be in the classroom and reach out to students in Australia, in Germany, in Europe, all around. So yes, we have our challenges, but we need to embrace it. We need to have it as one of the teaching tools in our classroom.
So on the 8th of July, Miss St. Hill, I'll start with you. There you were sitting anxiously waiting. You knew you were nominated, but you didn't know whether or not you'd won. So when you heard your name called, talk to me about the feeling that overwhelmed you at that point.
Oh, my heart was warm. I reached out first to my husband, to my children, and then to my babies at school, my students' council, because I said to myself it would have to be that group of young people who really pushed, as well as I know that there are a number of parents who I'm close to, and therefore I reached out to those individuals to let them know how happy I was and to thank them for nominating me. It was an extremely warm feeling, and one that is, I can't find the words to describe, but the joy.
Yes, to be recognized indeed. What about you, Angel? There you sat on the 8th of July, anxiously waiting, fingers tapping on the table, and then your name was called. How was that?
You know, I was very, very pleased. I'm very, very pleased up to this very moment. I feel very honored to be part of something such as this. And I don't know, Pearson, but I want to say right here, right now, I feel pleased additionally to be in the presence of someone like Miss Hill. I don't know if she wants me to say this, but when I first entered the gates of secondary school as a young student, Miss Hill was one of those teachers who I met as a young learner, and she has the lasting impression that she has left with me. I cannot even begin to tell you how much it has meant to me. Miss St. Hill, I am honored to be in your presence. What you have done for my life, it has left a lasting impact. I remember you pushing me and telling me, Angel, you can do it, in that home economics room below the art room at the law school. And I am very honored and pleased to be in the presence of someone like yourself. And I do not think I would forget this moment for a very, very long time, as long as I live. So, Pearson, I hope that answers your question.
Listen, you brought a tear to my eye. I can see Mr. Hill is also tearing
tears as well. I'm hearing tears as well. That's really what it's about. That is the reward. That is the reward for teachers, seeing your students have actualized.
Indeed. You know what? Before you all make me burst into tears too, I'm just going to have to say thank you and congratulations on your awards as our distinguished national teachers indeed. And so Angel Birch of the Eden Lodge Nursery and Sonia St. Hill of the Lodge School, well done. We applaud you and we appreciate all that you do for education in Barbados, and we encourage you to keep the good work up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Good morning.
Take care, Angel.
What a moment in time, huh? Morning Barbados continues right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
60 minutes now to go to the hour of 7 o'clock. We're going to have a little bit of a debate right now. Some of the rules to this debate, there's no shouting, no cross-talking, none of that. That's because we want to meet this morning two of the young people who put themselves forward to vie for the position of President of the National Union of Public Workers. Let's welcome this morning Kimberly Agard and Fabian Jones. Good morning, both of you.
Morning, Pearson. Good morning,
Good morning to you, Pearson.
Good morning. Now,
Good morning,
I did my own coin toss, and so the ladies will go first. Now, Kimberly, you put yourself forward at a time when the NUPW is finding itself in the news for not always necessarily the right things. Let's talk a little about why you've opted to be one of those who is vying for the position of president.
Okay, Pearson. I have been involved in NUPW at a number of levels throughout the years, my 13 years being a member. And I have seen some good and I have seen some bad. I have seen plenty good, as a matter of fact. And so I believe that at this time, based on what I have seen, what I have observed, I know what is needed. I do agree with you, though, that we find ourselves in an unfortunate position where persons are not happy with what is going on, where we are constantly in the press with negativity. And so a change needs to come about because our members are not happy with that. And there seems to be no end to that. It continues. As a matter of fact, we will be in court again this morning, and we need to bring a halt to that. I believe that what I have seen over the years of my involvement, both internationally, regionally, that I have what it takes, and I am the leader of a team that is comprised of persons of like mind who have been around the union for a number of years, served the union selflessly. They are loyal, they're committed, and we believe that together we make the perfect combination to bring NUPW to the position of respect and accountability that would make the members proud of the organization once again.
Right. Fabian, what about you? Because I know you've been in this union for quite some time, serving also at some very high levels as well. Why are you now vying for the position of president?
Yes, Pearson. Having seen the challenge UPW, having served in different capacities over the past 11 years, I believe that I've seen the challenges, and in the questions that the members asked, I found the answers. I believe I have the experience and the relationships that can bring the union together and lift it out of this present situation that we are in. One to which the membership is not pleased. I have therefore put together a team of committed humanitarians, activists, and trade unionists. And I believe that their combined skill, our combined skills, will treat to the needs at this time. The union at this time, we are accused of several things. We're accused of one-upmanship, cliquism, political polarization, not representing the membership. Team Vision for the workers' interest now, and as you hear it, our mantra is in our name, workers' interest now. We feel so strongly about it that we included it in our name. Team Vision has formulated some bold and creative policies aimed towards lifting the union up and moving the membership forward at this time.
Let's talk a little bit about the Go ahead, finish.
Sorry. Right. We want to redefine what representation means at this level, because it's an easy word to throw around. And persons just think of the fist stomping and the marching when they think of representation. But Team Vision, although we have that action, we also have member development and member care, which is also a big part of representation. So we want to redefine it and really be what a union is supposed to be. What a union is supposed to be.
Ms. Agard, you've heard some of what Fabian Jones is putting forward. What do you say your platform is putting forward to take the union forward?
My platform is similar to Fabian's. Remember, we would be operating on the same playing field. However, despite what ours are, we recognize, because we also have business development plans, we also have plans in place which would advance the socio-economic livelihood of our members. But however, we know what is needed in the immediate future. We know what is critical to the survival of NUPW, and that is the re-engagement of our members. That is keeping and remaining in touch with our membership, and that is what is lost within NUPW right now. The NUPW, the organization, has been disconnected from the general membership. Members no longer feel a sense of ownership when it comes to NUPW, and we need to get that back in place, because despite whatever we have as our long-term goals, you know, they may be perfect on paper, but implementation is a problem if we do not have the support and buy-in of our members. So the focus of Team New Guard, when we become the new executive of NUPW, is to reach out to our members, go to them wherever they are, make ourselves more accessible to the membership. As a matter of fact, in canvassing, despite the usual complaints of lack of representation and so forth, one of the other big complaints within the membership is communication. And as I said to a group yesterday when I was speaking to them, here and lately, the only news that you get from NUPW is negative, is of chaos, is of controversy. But over the last few months, NUPW has been doing good work as well. But those stories don't come out. So we need to get NUPW redirected rebranded, repaired to a way where our members are at the forefront of everything that NUPW does. And we need members to also recognize that NUPW is not a one-man show. NUPW does not belong to a small group of persons. NUPW belongs to each and every member. And the PS's $26 is of no more value to that of the general workers, $26 each and every member, because we've also recognized that members have been used and not valued, and we want to bring back the value to the members. That is what Team New Guard's vision is for our members at NUPW.
Mr. Jones, you both seem to have similar platforms in some way. What do you think it is that distinguishes yours from Ms. Agard's platform?
I believe what distinguishes mine is that I believe that mine have been formulated like 2 years and going back. Actually, in coming together, in putting together our proposals, we look back using the concept of Sankofa. We look back to inform the future. And members brainstorm, team members, and we reflected on the conversations we have with members over the years and the things that members have constantly been calling for. And I believe that our initiatives are more aged. These have been formulated way back and just refined in recent times. In 2019, my team was Team Renaissance. And from that name, you would hear the rebirth. And I have basically, once again, redefined Renaissance's initiatives under a new package, Team Vision, for the workers' interests now. I have a team that I believe is special. I have 3 members. I have Daria Cave as my first vice president. She's a teacher. I have Comrade David Denny, our activist extraordinaire. He's vying for the post of second vice president. And I have Sister Maclita King from the Sanitation Service Authority, who's vying for the post of third vice president. And they're new blood to the executive. And I believe that that makes Team Vision special in the first instance. Also, I believe that Team Vision's policies are better articulated. They are organized down to the finest details. You know, there are broad statements that can be made in relation to initiatives, but we've refined it down to how we will get from here to there. And I believe that they're comprehensive in relation to cradle to grave initiatives. So I believe that they're more comprehensive, and that's what sets me apart from Team New Guard.
All right.
We've looked at it from every angle.
Okay, so Team New Guard, we've just heard who comprises Fabian's team. Who comprises your team that you're taking into this election?
Okay, Pearson. So it is me, Kimberly Agard, for president. Then we have Charles Bostic for first vice president. We have John Paris for second vice president. We have O'Brien Smith, who is going for third vice president. We have Pamela Humphrey and Roy Greenwich, who they were going for treasurer and deputy treasurer, but they were nominated unopposed, so they have regained their position. So they will not be going up to the electorate. So just like Team Vision, we also have a combination of persons who are experienced and who are new, who would bring that freshness to anything that we are looking to do going forward.
A lot of people who are watching and they're thinking, we need new direction in unionism. We need a more cohesive approach to unionism as well. I'll give each of you just about 30 seconds each. Sell me on what you are going to bring that is different and exciting and engaging for members of the National Union of Public Workers. Let's start with you, Mr. Jones.
Team Vision for the Workers' Interest now, we formulated some bold and creative cradle-to-grave initiatives, as I've told you. They cover health, education, energy, transportation, child and elder care, salary and non-salary incentives, improve representation and wider community, national, regional, and international collaboration with other unions, NGOs, and stakeholders in labor. Our first thing is to fix the internal machinery because we believe that if the internal machinery of the NUPW is not in good working order, these initiatives will not see the light of day. If the members' needs cannot be met efficiently nor effectively, we have a challenge. My team and I will seek to implement the following policies, and these are just a few. We want to harmonize the relations between the executive, the secretariat, the council, divisional committees, and the wider membership via regular meetings, interaction, and communication. This is the core of the union's machinery. If, once again, if the union as an institution, and if the various divisions, for the union is run by divisions and committees, and if they are not organized, no work can be done.
Right. All right.
I believe that's 30 seconds right there.
Yes. Ms. Agard, let's hear from you. Your final push.
Okay, so as I said before, Team New Guard will ensure that the union is brought back to the membership. We recognize the deficiencies within the secretariat itself, and we have plans in place to fix that because, as it was alluded to before, without the secretariat being in good order, the organs of the organization functioning properly, the shop stewards who have become almost non-existent within the organization, and the shop stewards are a vital group of persons within the organization. So we need to re-engage them. We will look to be more accountable to our members, give them avenues to get to us and to say to us, we do not appreciate what you're doing. You're doing a good job, thumbs up, continue. We want to definitely re-engage and engage our members as much as possible. Because as I said before, despite whatever plans we have on paper, because we have the social plans, we have the business development plans, we have all of those things in place. But as I said before, we need to make our members happy. We need to give them proper representation. We need to make them own what comes out of NUPW and know that the union is theirs. They are the union and not us.
Okay, we got to leave it right there. Thank you so much, Kimberly Agard and Fabian Jones, both vying for the position of president tomorrow in the elections of the National Union of Public Workers. We'll keep on top of it and the best person win. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pearson.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Mr. Jones. All right, before we head for the news, we just want to give you a chance now to win with Beep. Right now, call me now on 22. You have mere seconds. 228-5562 or 228-5563 to correctly answer a question. We got it for you. The question today, true or false, Beep disinfectant spray is certified to kill the coronavirus that causes COVID-19. Is that true or false? That the Beep disinfectant spray is certified to kill the coronavirus that causes COVID-19. What do you think? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Call now. True or false? That's all I want to hear from you. True or false? Is it that the Beep disinfectant spray is certified to kill the coronavirus? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Yes,
hi.
True.
All right, sir, straight to the point. You're absolutely right. Stay right there on the phone. We'll take some other information from you. You've won yourself a gift basket with the compliments of Beep. Well done, sir.
Yeah,
it is absolutely, you're welcome. It's absolutely true that the Beep disinfectant spray is certified by the US EPA compliant lab to kill the coronavirus on surfaces that cause COVID-19. We're coming back with the news after this break.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Well, it's time for us to take a look at the news, and for that, we turn to Shane Seeley. Shane.
Yes, Pearson, and we are hearing this morning that the dispute between the suspended President Akani McDowell and the National Union of Public Workers is heading to court. The NUPW was given an ultimatum to overturn the suspension, publish notice of it being lifted, and postpone the upcoming elections to give McDowell at least 2 weeks to canvass for the presidency. The union has refused, so the matter is now heading to the courts. Well-placed sources indicate that the court injunction takes place today in the High Court via Zoom. The owner of one of 2 West Coast businesses recently shut down by the COVID-19 monitoring unit has been giving his side of the story to the Morning Report. Last Friday, Red Door was cited for overcrowding and inappropriate wearing of masks by patrons, but the owner, Dominic Seal, claims that was not the case. In fact, he says the numbers were below the limit for what is allowed, and according to him, the monitoring unit did a head count. As a result, he is calling for some revision of the protocols governing establishments like his, where closure is seen as an absolute last resort.
Closing should be absolute last resort. It really should be. Like it shouldn't just be on a whim, close. You know, like you don't understand the lives that you're hurting. You're destroying lives by doing that, right? And specifically, what I would suggest is that the directive should be updated to include that there should be 1 warning plus a 15-minute grace period by law in the directive. Every business should have instilled, if they're going to be shut down, it should be absolute last resort. It should be with a written reason, right? They should have a written report with a written reason, and it should be, you should at least get 1 15-minute grace period and a warning. So if I'm somebody that works in the COVID unit, I should go to you and say, Shane, numbers are not up to scratch. People don't look like they're separated enough. You have 15 minutes to get this place in order. And if you don't, we're gonna have to give you a written thing saying that it's, you know, you're over capacity or whatever it is, right? But there's a written something that you can go back, that we can go back as business people to the drawing board and work on it.
Mr. Seal says for him it's all about going back to the drawing board to avoid a similar situation when the curfew is again lifted. A massive contact tracing effort is on right now across the island in response to those 60 new cases recorded over the last 3 days. As a result, over 100 people are now in isolation as health officials advance their efforts to rein in the spike in cases and avoid significant community spread. Head of the COVID-19 monitoring unit, Ronald Chapman, tells the Morning Report it's a fluid situation.
We hope that we see we don't see as many cases as we were thinking that we might get, but we know quite well that over the next couple of weeks, a really mammoth effort is taking place to bring us back to where we were a couple of weeks ago. And when I say a mammoth effort, Shane, I mean a significantly mammoth effort. I don't want to say what that effort is because I don't want to preempt the minister if he wants to speak on that, or the chief medical officer. But what I can say, there's a significantly huge effort that is taking place within the Ministry of Health to be able to address those cases, because it would be absolutely irresponsible of us not to.
Now looking at the latest COVID-19 numbers, 3 females and 7 males make up the island's 10 newest COVID-19 cases. They were identified from 1,086 tests conducted by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory on Monday. 104 people are in isolation, and a total of 4,196 confirmed cases of COVID-19 have been recorded here in Barbados since March last year, and 48 people have died from the virus. 96,283 first doses of the vaccine have been administered under the National COVID-19 Vaccination Program, while 72,672 people, or 26.8% of the population, have received both doses of a vaccine and are fully vaccinated. That's your 7 a.m. headline news. I'm Shane Seeley. Back to you, Pearson.
Shane, thank you. It's 6 minutes after 7 o'clock. A break right here. And when we're back, your chance to win with Crumbs Bakery.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're approaching 8 minutes after 7 o'clock. Time for you now to win with Crumbs Bakery by your giving me a call on 228-5562 or 228-5563 to correctly answer today's Crumbs question of the day. I think it's a really relatively easy question. Your question today for the Crumbs question of the day is, I am a cooked or baked product. I am typically small and flat. What am I? Riddle me that now. I am a cooked or baked product. I am typically small and flat. What am I? Do you know? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Let's see how good you are. I am a cooked or baked product. I am typically small and flat. What am I? Good morning. Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning. What parish are you watching us from?
St. Michael.
St. Michael. What part of St. Michael are you?
St. Michael, by the university.
Okay, in that area. What's your answer for me this morning, ma'am?
Pancake.
Pancakes?
Yes.
Do you bake your pancakes?
Yes.
You bake pancakes? Or you fry them or something? Talk to me.
You fry them and you bake them also.
Okay. Well, that's not the correct answer for me this morning, though. But thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for listening and watching and everything else and for calling as well. That's not at all. 228-5562 or 228-63. I'm looking for the answer. I am a cooked or baked product. I am typically small and flat. What am I? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Punch in those numbers and come through to me. Let's get your answer. Remember, you have a chance to win with Crumbs Bakery. There's a location of Crumbs Bakery very near to you. Stop in today and try any of their baked products. You'll find them absolutely delicious, right down to the very last crumb. So, I am a cooked or baked product. I am typically small and flat. What am I? Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning, sir. Where are you watching us from?
I'm watching from Dover Hotel.
Dover? You work there or you're visiting there?
I'm visiting.
Oh, well, welcome. You're Barbadian?
Yes, please.
Welcome home, sir. All right. What's your answer for me?
A chocolate cookie.
Why is it a chocolate cookie?
Because it's flat and it's baked.
So if I use a different kind of ingredient, it's not chocolate. If I use something that's blueberry, is it not flat baked?
Well, it could be something else. It could be another flavor, but I think it's chocolate, or it could be just a flat cookie.
Ah, there you go. There you go. Just a flat cookie. It doesn't matter what you added to the batter at all. But it's a cookie.
Right.
It's a cookie. That's the answer to that riddle. Thank you so much. You stay on the phone. Someone will take some more information from you. There he is, Cover Hotel in Barbados, in Christchurch. So well done, sir. There is a cookie. So he's our winner today in our Crumbs question. Hey, congratulations indeed. An opportunity for someone tomorrow, should God spare. We are back after this break with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're 13 minutes after suck now as we continue with our Doc Talk. And this morning we have Doc in Dr. John Barker, our consultant obstetrician and gynecologist. To you, Doc.
Hi, good morning. How are you, Pearson?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. And yourself?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. You want to look at the subject today, outpatient hysteroscopy. Question out of everybody's lips is, what's that? Hysteroscopy. What is it?
Right. Essentially, hysteroscopy is a technique whereby the gynecologist uses a very small camera to have a look inside the uterine cavity or the cavity of the womb. It can be done as under general anesthetic. However, in terms of outpatient hysteroscopy, the actual procedure is done either in an office or in an outpatient setting.
Mm-hmm. So, but why are you going in there at all? Why are you looking? What are you looking for?
Right. So, any female who has a menopausal bleed, which is bleeding after menopause, and if the suggests that there is something inside of the womb, hysteroscopy is indicated. If who is complaining of bleeding in between the period for more than 6 months and they have some of any polyp or fibroid, then you're going to have to look inside the womb just to verify and to check. Now, the distinction should be made between diagnostic hysteroscopy and operative hysteroscopy. In an outpatient setting, the gold standard is diagnostic and operative at the same visit, unless there is an issue whereby that is safer to do it under general anesthetic.
So, let's be clear. So, a woman who you mentioned menopause. Generally, at menopause, you know, there's a reduction in the flow, and eventually it stops the menstrual period.
Yes.
But you're saying there might be intermenstrual bleeding, but she's in menopause, and that is a cause of concern.
No, I got you. No, there are 3 subsets of patients. So the first one is postmenopausal bleeding. So any lady that who has stopped her periods for a year, then that subset of patients is postmenopausal. So if they bleed, then they need to be investigated. So that's one criteria in terms of one patient subset. The next patient subset would be like if you have heavy periods or bleeding in between your periods for more than 6 months. So those would be like the younger people who still having their periods. All right. And then the third subset would be those like if you go for ultrasound scan and then the sonographer picks up if they have a fibroid inside the cavity or a fleshy growth, which is called a polyp. So those would be the three main subsets of patients that you would have to investigate who will benefit from this procedure.
Which is the hysteroscopy, but the outpatient opportunity though, what are the advantages of doing it as an outpatient?
Right, the advantages are multiple. The first one, it improves patient experience. The second one is that they don't have to go to a janitor or be put to sleep. And the third one is of it being cost effective because it can save up to 30 to 40% cost when compared to general versus the outpatient setting.
But that would depend on severity, I suppose.
Yes, well, it all, going back to the beginning, is if you're offering a diagnostic service or both. So for argument's sake, if you offer services at the outset, meaning that when the patient comes into the office, you do a diagnostic hysteroscopy, find something, and then you're able to treat it at the same time, that is cheaper in relation to the overall cost versus if you just go and do a diagnostic, see pathology, but then you have to let the patient know and then take them to theater. So your cost will be increased at that time. So that's why it is essential that when you offer the service, you offer both a diagnostic and a operative service at the same time.
Yes.
And that is the standard.
It makes it easier. Now,
yes.
How long is the process going to take if one presents in the outpatient's opportunity and how long will that process take, and can you afterwards and go home?
Yes, of course. Like, so if someone comes to outpatient hysteroscopy setting, so like my practice, when you come in, you get consented at the same time or you get consented prior to the procedure. You take your medication, which would be paracetamol or ibuprofen, which is simple analgesia. And then once you get prepared and stuff, the actual process from taking the medication to finishing the procedure and recovery is around 30 to 45 minutes. And once you actually get the procedure, you can walk straight out the office. You can drive, you can do whatever. But usually what we advise people is that because you had a procedure, it's not advisable to like drive or anything because every patient is different. Some patients might be well, some patients might need a bit more time. But in relation to everything, it's around 30 to 45 minutes from start to finish. However, if you have to do operative stuff, then it could be about 5 or 10 minutes longer.
And what about the healing and the post-surgery, post-implementation? What's it like?
Right. So essentially, what we tell patients is that water-related vaginal discharge. Usually, that's all you get for 2 to 3 days, and then it settles. There's a risk of infection, as with any surgical procedure, but that's less than 5%. So essentially, in the counseling, what we would tell patients is that if they have any strange vaginal discharge or any odors, then to contact the doctor or contact myself. And then we would just give them some antibiotics. But in terms of audit, that is less than 0.5%.
The next question that I'm sure a lot of people have on their mind is, what's your success rate? They want to know that once they allow themselves this procedure, that live thereafter.
Oh no, it is a very effective procedure. They're not. The in terms of any complications is extremely less than 1 in 1,000 or less in terms of complications. What you must realize is that in terms of the cameras and stuff, they're small. They're less than 2 millimeters. So in relation to doing anything like dilatation of the cervix, meaning that can the actual hole in the cervix is very low because you're actually seeing everything under the vision. So say in these 3 pictures, the one on the left is a view of the uterus, so that's the normal uterus, and the red dot are like parts of the endometrium. The middle picture would be those are like polyps inside, and the third is a directed biopsy, and that mass was actually removed. So these are the things that you can do in office. It's very safe and effective procedure.
Sounds good. So let's walk it through so that if anybody just tuned in very late, they can get a sense of what we're talking about. We're talking about the outpatient hysteroscopy. Let's look again at its definition, who presents for it, and techniques.
Right. So in conclusion, the hysteroscopy is looking at the inside of the cavity of the womb. It can either be diagnostic, operative. Now, it's done outside of the operating theater, either in an office or in an outpatient department. Now, in relation to the patients who would actually benefit from this, would be younger patients between that are not menopausal, who have either heavy periods or have bleeding in between the periods for more than 6 months, or if you have ultrasound evidence of uterine pathology. It's very important to have both a diagnostic and a operative service at the goal, because what we would offer would be a see and treat. So anything that we see that's abnormal, we can either directly biopsy or we can remove at the same time, rather than bringing you back to theater, which would increase the cost and stuff. So in relation to the actual procedure itself, because it has been around in terms of mainstream, we went to the UK in 2006. So in terms of outpatient hysteroscopy, has been around, was being implemented in the hospitals around 2007. So in terms of the safety of the procedure, it's very safe. Very few cases would need sedation in office. In terms of auditing malpractice and in terms of gold standard guidelines, is less than 2%.
All right. Sounds like a good operation procedure, folks. If it's you, consult your obstetrician gynecologist today, and you see the opportunities are abounding. Thank you, Dr. John Barker, for joining us again in our talk this morning. You're very welcome.
Thanks a lot.
Morning Barbados News right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
food and everything is here. But I enjoyed sushi. I enjoyed sashimi, which is like actual raw fish, and you just dip it in maybe some soy sauce. I've had what we call blow. I've had blowfish raw, which I know is kind of strange. I did hold my breath when I was eating that because I know it can be poisonous if it's not.
My goodness. Daniel, all that raw food, oh my goodness. You know, definitely not our culture. We want to spice it up and cook it up for sure.
Absolutely.
But then, you know, while there, you were part of the kindergarten at a private international school in Osaka. How was that for you in a kindergarten?
So that was the most amazing experience for me. I never thought kindergarten was my level. I did teach at the primary level, but kindergarten is much more below. But in Japan, the children are so much more, they're more disciplined, they're more involved, the parents are more involved. So I had a really, really lovely time there teaching those children. I try to stay in communication with them, but you know, it's when they leave, not elementary, when they leave kindergarten, they go so many different places.
Yes.
It was almost impossible for me to keep in communication, but that definitely was. It was a very fulfilling experience because it brought me great teaching experience. I had to literally teach from zero knowledge, and I brought some kids from zero English to almost fluent at their level, obviously, and it was just it was an amazing feeling to me. I had one specific class twice in kindergarten 1 and then kindergarten 3, so I actually took them to graduation, and that was. I
could well imagine. I could well imagine how rewarding that was. In the collage you just shared, one of the pictures you had it bordered with the flag of Barbados. I'm sure that raised a lot of questions for those children. What did you say in response?
So it didn't. That moment didn't raise a lot of questions, but so for me, I always take my culture where I go. So the first thing that I would teach when I go into the classroom is where I'm from. Of course, nobody knows in Japan. Nobody knows where Barbados is. So I would either walk around with a map, or I would have to open my phone and be like, okay, look, do you know where the Caribbean is? And I would show them how small Barbados is. They're like, wow, it's so tiny. And then I would just always share little things that I think they might know, like, do you know Rihanna? No, they don't. But then mostly there are lots of Jamaicans in Japan. There are Jamaicans everywhere. But they would always think that they would think that I'm Jamaican, so they would ask things about Bob Marley and things like that. But then I would say, okay, well, if you know where Jamaica is, Barbados is just around the corner right there.
Well done. But now you're in New York and you're continuing, because there's one thing you're doing there. You're looking at lifestyle customization. What's that?
So being here, I've been associated with a group of people who are looking to help individuals with their lifestyle choices, and they want things that people who are not satisfied with being average. We look to help people gear their goals towards the direction that they want them to go. And we help we understand that finances and relationships are very important. So we help people in those two areas and help them to develop as leaders in their lives first and foremost, and then in society. And by doing that, we help them to, create the vision of their life and kind of cater their lifestyle to the way they want it to be.
It's a very noble cause, very great work as well. Would you see yourself coming back to Barbados to do such here?
Absolutely. I have introduced a couple of friends of mine from back home already, and I am personally helping them do the same thing as well. The association also has quite a few charities, and we've been looking to expand that towards Barbados, especially because of all of the recent hits that Barbados has had, whether it be from the ash or the hurricane. Like, all of those things do hit close to home. And because the association that we have here is we do lots of volunteer work and something called Operation Impact. During the holidays, we give gifts to kids who don't have, you know, the means, whose families don't have the means. And we actually expanded last year into like Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
And since I'm like the only Barbadian in the association, like I'm now speaking up to try to help also my country as well, like in whatever way possible. Because it's not just about giving gifts. It's all like there are other things that we do. We do beach cleanups. We do like various things. So whatever I can see, wherever I can see the fit for Barbados, that's what I'm working towards right now. But I have 2 friends in Barbados that are helping me right now figure that out.
That's fantastic, Daniel. A couple of things before we go. If you were to land on Barbados right now, where's the first place you'd like to go?
Well, first, my mother's house, because she definitely would have prepared something for me to eat, something based on my father. But then the second place is definitely the beach. That's all I do. I just go straight. My mother's house is just the beach, so
yes.
I go home and then I go to the beach.
All right.
That's my habit.
That's your thing. And what's the first thing you'd like to eat since you're heading for this food? What would you want her to prepare for you?
I always ask for flying fish, but no.
Fried or
not easy to come by. Fried. I love fried flying fish. And it needs to be flat. I don't like it curled up.
Here's your brother. Well done, Daniel. It's a pleasure to meet you there, Daniel. You're in New York at the moment, and you're doing some fantastic work. And so, you know, for some who don't know you, it's been our immense pleasure to introduce you to them. Thousands of Barbadians who are watching you this morning. So very proud of you, Daniel. Well done. From Fairy Valley Christ Church. Now he's in New York doing us really, really proud. Daniel Evelyn, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for the time.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Another Bajan Afar doing great things. All right, a break here. When we come back, get your books out, ladies and gentlemen. Our 12 keys to a strong finish. We're looking at key number 6. Find it, and we're back to look at it right after this. Wednesday, the best Wednesday morning is about to happen, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. As we continue our journey through the 12 keys to a strong finish, those life lessons for facing your everyday challenges. And with us, as always, is our good friend, Bishop Marlon Husbands. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you doing?
I'm doing well today. How are you doing?
I am good. I am good. Can't complain at all. Looking forward, as usual, to our brief discussions.
You know, brief indeed. So, folks, I hope you have your books. Like me, you have it next to you all the time. We're continuing key number 6. Last week when we talked about it, we likened it to the race. 100-meter race is what we're running with right now. And around us are all sorts of things that would seek to distract us. And sometimes they're just innocent on the surface of it, but we must be able to discern whether or not at the surface of it and deeper, it's as innocent as it appears to be. And sometimes we have to learn to say no, and it's okay to say no, rather than just simply give in and say yes. We must be relentless in our determination as well. And that's the foundation upon which we're starting off today. Because as we ended, we wanted to look at the bulldog, one of your favorite animals,
yes,
and what that English bulldog means to this message that we're sharing today.
Wow, there are so many peculiarities of the bulldog, Pearson, to how we manage our challenges. And as excited as I were when I was as excited was when I thought about it, is as excited as I am now. When we look at the build of the bulldog, we look at the mentality of the bulldog, we look at so many characteristics of the bulldog. Point, determination does not operate in a vacuum. You have to give face to it.
Yes.
And today I want to springboard our discussion on the fact that determination is on trial. Listen to this, person. Determination is on trial in the face of a challenge or troubling circumstance. Wow. Determination is on trial. So every challenge you get, it challenges, it puts your determination on trial. And the first quality of the bulldog, therefore, is the muscular build. That stood out at me. And I said, like, you know, last week I said the bulldog is so ugly that he becomes attractive to me. I don't know about other people, but he is definitely attractive to me. And so I extracted a nugget, an additional person that wouldn't be in your book. And it says challenges create activity or exercises on demand, whether or not we feel like it. So your challenge is going to exercise your muscles. And remember, we're talking about the muscular build of the bulldog.
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, and a lot of times we run from it. So building that muscle, it's about building and strengthening that muscle, because that's what's going to give you the energy to push through and be unrelenting in I was going to say the word attack, but you understand what I'm saying when I say the word attack, but to face those challenges and to be able to overcome those challenges. And so the bulldog never cowered away from it. The bulldog saw its challenge, faced its challenge, and just used its muscles to go forward.
Correct. So as an opportunity for us to build upon the strength and resilience and the muscular formation, because you know, I am getting old, Pearson. I mean, I may look good, but I'm getting old. And the reality is that you always hear, and I recognize from observation, the older you get, the more muscle mass you lose. And so when you begin to get 50, 55, Pearson, this may not be you, but when you begin to get 50, 55, and 60, you begin to lose muscle mass. And one day I look at myself in the mirror and I say, but Marlon, what happened here? So I decide that I am going to at least do push-ups to maintain my chest mass and my arm mass and my muscle mass. So therefore, every challenge. So I was confronted with a challenge. My muscle mass as a human being is being compromised. Therefore, I have to arise to that challenge and try and build my muscle.
And then let's liken that to Nehemiah, and let's liken that to our Christian journey as well, because that's where it's also important for us to see the analogy and recognize that as Christians, we also need to build our Christian muscle. We need to be able to build those sinews around us so that when confront us, we are strong enough to confront those challenges and be unrelenting in reaching that strong finish.
Yes, and one of the other peculiarities about the segment on the muscular build of the bulldog is that we say that the thing about finishes is that they are preceded by a journey, a process of preparation for the body muscles incrementally developing, and so it will give us the kind of strength we need. So the more you develop the muscles, the more you are confronted with a challenge, and the more you confront your challenge, the more ready you are. And not only that, but you're building yourself with a capacity to manage the other oncoming challenges.
Now, part of it too is being able to sink your teeth into what it is that you're facing. And Nehemiah was able to do so in a very big way. You know, you wrote about it in the book. You says, he sank his teeth, Nehemiah, that is, into his prey, or those who came to invite him in very unscrupulous ways, you know, and never let up because his jaws were locked onto the truth. And that's what's so important. The point here is that if you're going to defeat your enemy, you must be prepared not only to bite into your challenges, but to lock your jaws until the challenges dissipate. And you know, as I'm reading this, it is also strengthening me, you know, because each of us every day has a challenge that we need to be able to lock into and to almost wrestle to the ground.
But the truth is, I am right now pursuing a project, and I am confronted with stumbling
Yes.
Block after style. And the truth, every time, and thank you, Pearson, for having me weekly, because it gives me greater strength and determination when I think about what is written. What I wrote, I am finding encouragement for myself from something that I've written. So
Yes.
if I, being the author, can be encouraged daily from this manuscript, you can imagine the persons who didn't write it and are seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
So the determination factor, I had to sink in. I had to say, you know, I have to stick with this. I have to stick with this. And so that's the value that is given and gained from the insights in this revelation.
When I told you guys last week that this chapter is big, I hope you all believed me here. I hope those of you who already have realized what we're talking about here, because there are so many characteristics to the bulldog. You know, we want to go on to look at the English bulldog can be aggressive, and this is just one of those characteristics. And when we talk about aggressive, so that people understand, explain to everyone what you see to be this aggressive nature that we ought to adopt.
Right. So you're looking at the mentality. Remember, all of the challenges you face. And so what it's saying is that the bulldog doesn't back down from a fight. It is the mentality of that dog does not allow it to back down from a fight. Therefore, we must be prepared to confront our challenges, treat it as a fight, and don't renege, don't give in, confront, go aggressively at it. And that's what I was talking about. Every challenge, you know, there are some challenges that may seem surmountable, but the reality is that it is only as surmountable as your mind and disposition allows it to be for you. So therefore, if your mind is ready for the challenge, no matter how acid the test, you are going to attack it. So don't let your challenge attack you, attack your challenge.
Jeez, Marlon, you're using the words I wanted to use.
Because the imagery, Pearson, even when you were reading, I said, but Pearson is so good at capturing imagery. And so when you talk about the aggression, the aggressiveness, don't give up or renege. Go for the fight. Don't go into a corner and sulk because you have been confronted with something. Listen, there are many others who have gone before us. Many others who are right now with us that are going through similar things. If they conquer, Pierce, we can conquer.
Absolutely. But that's a lot of mental strength. I mean, again, we look at the bulldog. The bulldog sees the situation and it could choose to cower, which it will not do. But it calls its mental capacity. It says, you know, I will defeat that. I will be pulling from within me everything that I have because I know that I have it, and face that particular challenge. And so it's from a position of knowing that the bulldog operates. It's not guessing. It's not guesswork at all. It knows upon what strength it can pull to face aggressively that challenge before it. And sometimes we as human beings, we set doubt. We allow doubt to cause us to not believe that we are strong enough, or we allow doubt not to allow us to see on whom we can call for strength. And that sometimes is our greatest downfall.
And that leads to something else. The owner of the bulldog must make sure it gives the bulldog the relevant kind of nutrition. Therefore, let us look at God as our owners. And God has provided nutrition. God has provided protein. He has provided carbohydrates. He has provided all kinds of things for us. If we don't eat it, we will never become who we can be and manage the challenges that we are confronted with.
Absolutely. See, Marlon, it's the only time this really go. My goodness me. Folks, this is, again, to be continued. I told you it's a big chapter, and I really want us to spend the time so we all get stronger in our journey as well towards that finish line. So if you don't mind, we'll pick up from point number 4 on the bulldog. Next time we meet up, all right?
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, my brother. Right. So, folks, again, there's still some copies available, right, Dr. Marlon?
Yes, there are copies. I have ordered a new set. A new set has recently come in, so there are plenty to go around.
Fantastic. So because there are plenty, folks, I want you to get a copy. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's get a copy. Soon we'll have our huddle that we can all lean on each other and learn from each other as well. But to get your copy today, you should call 232-3961. 232-3961. 232-3961 or 431-0016. That's the office, 431-0016, and get your personally autographed copy of this book, 12 Keys to a Strong Finish with Dr. Marlon Husband, and you will find it will do you good as well as we continue to study this together. Thank you as usual, my friend, and look forward to seeing you for life next week.
Look forward to seeing you again next week, Pierce.
Amen. Thank you. Morning Barbados continues right after this.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
The time goes so quickly. It's 9 minutes to go to 8 o'clock. We're joined now by members of Mission Empowerment in the chairperson, Leanne Tasher. Good morning to you, Leanne. And Harriet Sunshine Skeet, my friend, communications specialist and Rising with Resilience speaker. Good morning, both of you ladies.
Good morning,
Good
Pearson,
morning.
and good morning to all
As
the
usual,
viewers.
thank you, Harriet, with that big smile. Harriet, good to see you yet again. Long time.
It's true. I feel like I'm coming home.
Indeed, that's very good. Now, let's look at this because I'm really fascinated by this event you're having today, Rising with Resilience. It's an entrepreneurship webinar. Now, let's start with you, Leanne. Why do you think this is so critical at this time?
Okay, good morning, Pearson. Definitely the Rising with Resilience project is very, very important right now. As I would have explained to the guest speakers who are involved, I called them up and I explained, you know, these are uncertain times. Youth are dealing with so many challenges, some of which are unprecedented for them. And I really wanted to bridge that gap to let youth hear from people who I believe epitomize resilience themselves. Richard Blades, Melinda Bell, and Harriet Sunshine Skeet, they all have, you know, they represent Barbados so well. They don't just limit themselves to Barbados, but they also work outside of the Caribbean, which is something that I want to inspire young people to do, especially at a time that, like now, where resources seem to be, you know, somewhat limited. But I want to, you know, dispel any daunting views and really show people that there's hope. And that is what birthed this entrepreneurship event tonight.
So who's invited to this?
Really, everyone is invited. Project May usually targets persons 15 to 25 because it is designed to help persons transition from school life into the world of work so that they can, you know, achieve financial stability. But with all of the job losses caused by the recent pandemic, we also thought it best to also let them learn about entrepreneurship so that in the event that there's any economic uncertainty, they can still stand on their feet.
So, Sunshine, sorry, Harriet, because I've known her for so long, we call her by that middle name, Sunshine. Talk to us a little bit about what you're going to be sharing with everyone this evening.
Well, when Leanne reached out to me, I was so moved by the actual organization and the fact that they're targeting young people And we all know that the young people need a lot of help, not only here, all around the world, in terms of job opportunities, in terms of being able to market themselves, understanding their brand, how to speak properly, how to network. And there's so many areas that we're going to be covering tonight. And I think it's just a necessity right now. People are in a bit of a slump. We've got lots of graduates I know that are still struggling to find work. And so how do you transition then from a graduate into the workforce? And if there are no jobs, can we then look at entrepreneurship? How do we remaster your CV? How are you conducting yourselves in interviews? So all of these things are very key and critical for the young people that Leanne is targeting. And I think it was just something that I could not miss. I had to be able to share the little wisdom I have and see where I can help.
And part of that wisdom, I know, is that you've left the formal job environment. You work on your own. You're able to create your own space and your own means of living as well. How has that been for you so far?
Well, I still am working full time. However, what I do is I do a lot of coaching, empowerment on a part-time basis. And that is really my passion. Leanne did reach out to me from my marketing background. She said, Harriet, I know you have all this experience in marketing, and I really think you could add some value here. So that is how we're able to kind of use best of both worlds, my marketing as well as the ability to coach and train.
Well done. And so Leanne, also with Sunshine this evening, will be Melinda Bell and Richard Blades. Tell us about who they are and what they're bringing to the seminar this evening, this entrepreneurship seminar.
Yes, these are very dynamic speakers. Richard Blades, he is the director of the Caribbean Virtual Hospitality Institute. He has had a wealth of experience in training persons. In fact, he's been doing it since 1990. And as for Melinda Bell, another resilient speaker, she would have left the corporate world as well to pursue entrepreneurship herself. So she has a passion for basically empowering people and letting them know how to manage their money, because as we all know, that is so critical. So that is what the wealth of knowledge that they'll be bringing tonight. So we look forward to a very wonderful outcome. I spoke to the PR team yesterday and they said that so far the response has been really pleasant. So I'm looking forward to a great event.
As am I, and I'm excited about it because it's being done by young people. You guys are young people, and here it is. Sunshine's reaction, and
I'll take that.
You are stepping forward, and you're helping other young people as well. So it's absolutely free, but we want people to register. So how can folks register to be a part of this exciting entrepreneurship webinar this evening from 7?
Okay, so registration is very easy. All you have to do is look for us on social media. You can look for JCI Barbados. You will find our post with the poster, and there is a registration link already there. So it's easy. You just have to click the link, you put your name and your email address, and it's easy like that. You're going to get the Zoom link from there.
So this starts at 7. It's roughly 2 hours, about 2 hours of high-powered, impactful information, folks. This evening, when you join and come online, you'll get to learn how to draft a winning business plan. You get to choose your best funding options. You learn how to do so, how to budget and invest in business, and branding for business success. It's totally free, but most of all, you're going to get 3 experts in this part of the world who are known to us, who will be able to share from their experience and to guide you into becoming successful entrepreneurs. It's an entrepreneurship webinar, and it's Rising with Resilience. Together we can all do this. I really want to thank you so much for exciting us about this. We can't wait for this evening at 7 o'clock. So you just go quickly to the poster. We're going to post this on our social media pages here at the CBC as well, so people can actually see it. That's what the poster looks like. So look for it, click on that URL, and you are good to go when you register via Zoom. Thank you so much, Leanne Tasher, Project Manager, and you too, my friend Harriet Skeet, for joining us this morning. And best of luck this evening with the webinar.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining this morning. Before we go, a couple of things I need to tell you about. Well, with the curfew back, as you know, so too will be back on TV8, that Stand Home Party. So the Stand Home Parties will start again this Saturday, this Saturday on TV8, you will have another edition, a new edition of the Stand Home Parties. And it'll be live on Facebook and also on YouTube. The DJs this Saturday night are Chasey and Sheldon Papp, Versi Wild and Level Vibes. It's going to be hosted by DJ Ras, of course. So come on, folks, grab hold of all that you need to get, like your Coca-Cola, Banks beer, your Purity Bakery products, and your Biko ice cream as we bring that party to you. Now, as a consequence, the preliminary number 2 of the Soca Monarch competition will now move to Friday evening, where we have Festival Stage. That's where it will be this Friday evening. Preliminary number 2 of the Soca Monarch competition. So look forward to seeing all of the great songs and enjoying the great music, and also to your voting in to the finals. We're going to remind you until Saturday what's going on. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to see you again tomorrow, should God spare life. Have a good morning.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.